I'm going to do what I did this morning and mute the chambers.
Yeah, it was really loud.
Yeah, that was the same kind of thing. I just muted it on my end, but it was really loud.
Also, were they doing some sort of like construction in the chambers during?
Well, at first, I thought it was Fred, because I just saw the beard and stuff. And then I'm like, no, they're like working in there. And apparently they were changing some light bulbs.
It's a really good time.
Yeah, there's a big piece of equipment in there that they were showing before they went to this shot. Okay. It also looks like the benches are marked out for social distancing. There's a bunch of tape spread out.
Amy, you know about pulling agenda 4, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, God.
And just a reminder that I'm going to be recording just so we have a backup.
Okay. I printed last week's agenda. So it was 3, 4, 6. Sherry? Yeah. It's 3, 4, and 6. Yeah.
Yeah, 6 is withdrawn.
Okay. 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 I'm going to do a little cleanup here. Ms. Scarda isn't presenting, so we can make her an attendee too, right? I mean, she's not going to use the screen.
I don't think so. I think she'd just be talking.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just here to make sure this got sorted out.
Yep. I just try to have a limited number of people that are listed as presenters so I can keep my eye on all of the council members' hands up buttons.
I don't know how you deal with it, but no, I'm going to log off and then just watch it now that it looks like my stuff got dealt with. So thank you so much.
Well, you can stay. I mean, we loved having you.
Well, I'll come on. I'll watch you on TV. That's usually what I do. Thank you so much.
All right. It looks like we have a crew here. So I am going to call the St. Paul City Council meeting to order. Roll call.
Naker?
Aye. Here.
Prince?
Here.
Tao?
Here.
Tolbert?
Here.
Yang?
Here.
Delali?
Here.
Council President Brenmoen?
Here.
7 present, no one absent.
Please stand and join us as Mr. Councilmember Tolbert leads the pledge today.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Consent agenda items 2 through 11 are before you for your consideration.
We are, I understand, pulling items 3 and 4 for separate consideration, and item 6 will be withdrawn. Is there are there items on the consent agenda that should be taken separately? All right. Seeing none, Ms. Jalali moves consent. Roll call.
Naker?
Aye.
Prince?
Aye.
Tao?
Aye.
Tolbert?
Yes.
Yang?
Aye.
Delali?
Aye.
Council President Brenmoen?
Aye.
7 in favor, no one opposed. The consent agenda is adopted as amended. Item number 3, Resolution 20-1113, urging the Minnesota State Board of Investment to divest from fossil fuels.
Ms. Jalali.
Thank you. Thank you for the chance to bring this resolution today. This is really important to take up as we send a message about working to take action on climate and where we as a city can can manage that. We have a climate action resilience plan. We have a lot of goals within that and strategies that have to do with land use and zoning and all these things that are our tools at our disposal. But we can also make statements to other entities and levels of government to represent us in that effort. And one of those ways is reflected in this resolution. So as a city, we actually manage the funds for our employee retirement accounts and other funds like that at the state level, and it's overseen by something called the State Board of Investment. It's made up of all 4 of our constitutional officers, so that's the governor, the Secretary of State, the Attorney General, the state auditor. And this resolution basically calls on that board to divest our resources from the fossil fuel industry. This is important because having our public dollars invested in fossil fuels doesn't just mean that we're supporting these kinds of industries that are part of polluting and part of contributing to climate crisis and also inequity through capitalism, but it also means that we're dependent on the success of these increasingly unstable and waning industries in order to make a return for our public employees, our retirees, and our bottom line. And these things just don't make sense anymore, both from kind of the moral imperative to address climate change, but also from an economic standpoint. So this is a resolution simply to bring that up, to ask that the State Board of Investment divest from fossil fuels in order to reduce the long-term financial risk on our employees and our staff, and to also match our public investments with our public policy and our values and the needs, the very real scientifically proven needs we have as a community that we've acknowledged in plans like our City Climate Action Plan. So that's what we are taking up and considering today, and I appreciate our community advocates who have helped us do this in coordination with the City of Minneapolis and other communities and the State Board of Investment for taking some steps already, but we thank you for your attention to this too as we pass this resolution today. So if anyone else wants to make comments, I welcome that. But thank you to our community climate advocates too who have brought this forward. This isn't possible without you. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Jalali. Other comments on this resolution? Seeing none, Ms. Jalali moves approval. Roll call.
Naker,
Aye.
Prince,
Aye.
Tao,
Aye.
Tolbert,
Yes.
Yang,
Aye.
Jalali.
Aye.
Council President Brenmoen.
Aye.
7 in favor, no one opposed. The resolution is adopted. Item number 4, Resolution 20-1110, amending Chapter A2 of the appendices of the St. Paul Administrative Code to establish the creation of a St. Paul City Council Audit Committee.
Ms. Naker.
Thank you, Council President, and thank you to my fellow council members who have been part of the ongoing work of the Performance Audit Committee to date. This agenda item is to establish a formal audit committee of the council. It requires that we officially change our code to do that. And as you know, we have been doing this work for the last year and a half or so to restart that process of investigating and looking into each of our departments and making sure that the work that they're doing is making the best possible use of our dollars, of our time, and that it's providing outstanding public service and accountability. And so I'm really excited to be taking this next step forward in the process to make this committee more official. Also excited that we're hoping to not just have council members be part of it, but to also include community members and other members of the administration and the staff in an advisory capacity. So this will really be a very inclusive body. So with that, I will yield to others of my fellows on the committee or anyone else.
Ms. Prince.
Yes, thank you. I too am really pleased that we are bringing this forward. The committee has done great work. And among the things that we did, we invited speakers from the Office of Legislative Audits at the state, the Dakota County Audit Division, and the City of Minneapolis. And who am I missing? In any event, we learned a lot about what constitutes a good process and have given this a tremendous amount of time and effort in the last several weeks. And so I'm excited that we are moving forward.
Great. Other comments? Mr. Tao?
Thank you, Chair. In the beginning, when we first had this discussion about having an audit committee, I thought that part of getting to where we are today was important, but also the discovery that we make, so that we would create a committee that is inclusive, that would respect the administration and the departments, and see them as a team, and that the work that this committee would do would be solely in the interest of the public good. And I think that's why we were able to get to this point. So I think that if you're a taxpayer in the city of St. Paul, and you're hearing this and passing this resolution, this is our promise as public servant to you that we're going to do what we've been doing is good, but we're going to do more. And so we hope that you pay attention to this committee and that you get involved in this committee if you can, because it wouldn't be good without you and you being at the table. And so I'm really excited about this. When I visited Portland, and they have their own audit department, their auditor is a elected position in the city, and they take their work incredibly seriously, and their work is really important. And so I think this committee will be doing that. And I hope that as we continue to do this work, we can adapt to the changes that will come before us and that we're also facing. But that's why it's extremely important that we have this audit committee, so that taxpayers know that our time is being well spent and that we're doing everything we can as efficiently as possible to uphold that promise, why they elected us. So looking forward to supporting this.
Thank you. If there is no more discussion, Ms. Naker would move approval. Roll call.
Oh,
There's an amended version.
Wait.
Sorry,
Yeah.
would move a version 2.
Yes, right.
Okay. Would you like to discuss version 2, Ms. Naker?
No, there were some technical changes to the language, nothing substantive.
Okay. So we're moving version 2. Roll call.
Naker,
Aye.
Prince,
Aye.
Tao,
Aye.
Tolbert,
Yes.
Yang,
Aye.
Jalali.
Aye.
Council President Brenmoen.
Aye.
7 in favor, no one opposed. The resolution is adopted as amended. Item number 12, Resolution 20-1101, accepting and approving the recommendations of the Chamber's Artwork Task Force.
Wonderful. Thank you. And we're going to start this conversation today with a report from Molly Spillman from the Ramsey County Historic Commission, and just to talk a little bit about our process and what we're voting on today. And I recognize that the resolution that we're passing here in St. Paul is a bit different than what was passed in Ramsey County Commissioner meeting yesterday. But just to provide a little context on process, I think it would be helpful if you could kick off this section of our meeting. Welcome.
Sure, I'd be happy to. Thank you. Well, I'm speaking, I'm Molly Spillman. I'm the curator and archivist for the Ramsey County Historical Society. And I'm speaking on behalf of Chad Roberts, who is our director, but unfortunately is out of town right now. And so I got some notes and I conferred with him this morning just in case there were other questions of me that maybe I wasn't as familiar with. In summary, I guess, Ramsey County Historical Society was asked to create and facilitate a task force that would use their own networks, the networks of the city and the county, and our own networks to solicit and select artists that would better reflect today's city and county communities in the Chambers room in the Ramsey County Courthouse and City Hall. The new artworks were solicited in order to cover the original 1934 John Norton murals that are in that space and that are just, racist by their very nature and the timeline in which they were created. So that was the impetus for this project. The new artwork would be expanded onto fabric panels, and and those would be inserted into the alcove where the original Norton murals live, or painted on the, literally painted on the wall, so that there's going to be no damage to the historical integrity of that space. The frameworks can come down, up and down easily. The artwork on these fabric panels can come up and down very easily. Public meetings began in January of last year, and the task force and alternates were selected and, again, sought out artists from their various constituencies and communities to apply to be one of the 4 artists that was selected. 20 applications were received by October of last year. And again, through an interview process, which the task force participated in, 4 artists were selected. One is a collective or a group of artists together as one entry, but 4 new artworks would be produced. The 4 artists, either in person or via media, participated in public meetings that were held at the Eastside Freedom Library. And also, we're able to respond to questions or comments from participants there, and even within their own communities. A few of them don't live here in the Twin Cities. Once the 4 artists were selected, again, they tried to, have input from their home communities and the task force as well, check-ins between the task force and the artists on how their progression was going. If approved through the City Council today, again, this expanded version of these original artworks would be, are prepared to be mounted in those 4 alcoves. One thing I guess that I would note, and again, I can't see your paperwork, but one of the outcomes of the task force was to create 3 or propose 3 resolutions. And I guess notably is the 3rd resolution, which asks and calls for continued support, financial support, and direction in continuing this support of art. Again, this is a very, 4 pieces is not a lot, and hopefully this would just be the beginning of this ongoing relationship with the arts communities, the city, and the county. So I guess that's a summary. If people have questions of me, I'll do my best to answer.
Great. Thank you very much for that brief summary. And I think we'll talk a little bit more about this, but I just wanted to clarify one thing that you said, and that is when the task force set out, the goal was to find artists that were reflective of the community, but not necessarily, we weren't prescribing what the art itself would look like. It was more to make sure that the artists that were participating were from all across our city and really across our state. So the artwork, I know we're not sharing the artwork this week. The artwork will be part of a press release conference next week when we will have the artists in, and the artists, to the extent that they could make it here, be there to be part of the unveiling of their art. But my colleagues and I have had an opportunity to look at small digital representations, and I think they're very different. They're wonderful. They're not what I expected them to be at all. And like each of them brings something different. It took this interpretation in a very different direction. So I think once folks get a chance to take a look at this, they'll kind of have a deeper understanding of how the artists work connected to the pieces they put out and how the pieces work together. But it's definitely cool, and I can't wait for the reveal next week. But are there questions specifically for Molly? Ms. Yang and then Ms. Prince. Oops, Ms. Yang, you might be on mute.
Yes, I am. Thank you, Council President. Molly, I have a question for you. Because this is a question that has popped up for me a few times already from constituents, can you confirm that the original murals that are in the City Hall will be taken down?
I cannot confirm that. It's actually the opposite. The original murals that were created by John Norton and painted at the very beginning of the courthouse opening to the public will not be taken down. They'll simply be covered up. If you think about the alcoves where those murals exist on either side of the council room, framework will be built inside of that alcove, and the new art will be blown up. It's about a 16-foot tall alcove, and so that's where the new art will be. The original artwork. So again, thinking of that space, the artists were given a mathematical equation, sort of. They were given different dimensions in which they could produce their new art, so that when we blew it up to fill in that void in the framework, there would be still fidelity. It would still look the same, in a sense, as the original artwork. So the original artwork of John Norton is not being taken down. It's simply being covered up, in a sense, but not in a permanent way. It would, again, they could be visible at any time. The intent, as I understand it, is that all 4 new pieces will be put up in those alcoves, and so no Norton piece will be visible for some time to come, is my understanding. Again, once approvals occur. I think the original plan was that maybe it was going to be 2 and 2, that 2 new pieces would go up while the Norton pieces were still visible, but that has changed. And again, that all 4 new pieces will be in person there live at the opening reveal, but as will be the expanded versions that would be put on fabric in those alcoves. Does that answer your question?
It does. Can you explain? Can you explain why it isn't taken down and that we're going this route then? Just so folks.
You know, I can. Just say I can't. I wasn't part of that meeting. I know I've read Chad's notes, and I think that was a discussion point with early task force members. Again, I think there were about 30 people that applied, and maybe 25 or so, just based on scheduling and requirements, were able to attend the first meeting of the task force in January or early February. And I know that was an issue for some, that they wanted the original murals to be taken down, painted over, covered up permanently. And I don't know, I wasn't there. I guess I would say that maybe the overriding task force maybe decided against that. I don't know. I'm sorry.
Okay.
And Ms. Yang, again, Ms. Spillman is standing in for Chad, who worked close and personally with this, and so we can ask for follow-up from Chad specifically on that. And yeah, and just to share a bit of context, there were many different approaches to take, like discussed prior to engaging the community group on the art itself, to try to figure out how to, there was strong consensus on the city council that the art was inappropriate for the People's Chamber, where we interfaced with our community members. And we discussed full removal. We discussed shades that came down and covered them. I mean, we discovered discussed adding more panels, many different iterations of what a plan could be. And really the technology caught up to us while that conversation was happening, where we were able to, like, one of the things that kind of occurred to me while we were talking about this is the holes are so big. They're 16 feet or more tall, that trying to commission a piece of art that's big and actually get it in the building and up the stairs or the elevators would be next to impossible to do. So the making the canvas and slipping it in the slot turned out to be very affordable, and something that's going to allow us flexibility to continue making new art with more community members in the future. I think it was the most cost-effective, simple, efficient way to move forward and get new art up on the walls so that we could, declare victory in terms of having a space that felt appropriate for the work that we do. But we can follow up with Chad on the specifics of removal versus covering. Part of it is just the challenges of the actual removing of the paint or the paintings, the way that they're put into the recesses. But we'll ask for some follow up on that. Ms. Prince had her hand up too.
Ms. Spillman, did I understand you to say that the 4 artists have been working together in terms of coordinating their subject matter? Or, I mean, are these four that need to appear together, or are they something that can be part of a cycle?
Sure, and I might have misspoken a bit. They are independent artists, but one of the applicants is Clues, and they worked as a group within Clues. So each artist is independent, but one of the artists is a group of people.
Okay.
And so yes, they can all stand independently. And again, as was noted earlier, you've seen the little pictures of them, and I guess maybe that was a question that was asking me that I didn't answer. There were no real specifications given to the artist. It was a bit free flowing. That they were to react in their own way, and again with the input that they received from various locations and various people as to what they felt was what they wanted to present in that space. If that answers a couple of questions.
Thanks, that does. Thank you for that. And then just one other comment that I want to make is that when the council approved this, I think a couple of years ago, the resolution that we approved did exactly what Ms. Spillman mentioned, is that our resolution approved having a couple of selecting artists, but then always having at least one of the original murals as part of the ongoing display. And I do know from members of the Dakota community that was the part of the decision that they could not abide, was that the original murals would continue to be on display at all in the new, with this new plan. And so the plan, it's my understanding that it was after George Floyd's tragic murder that the committee decided to eliminate that part of the plan and have all new images displayed at all times. So I just want to point that out because we are hearing from the Dakota community about their strong feelings about the process. And I think that is helpful background for us to have.
Thank you. I thought I saw Mr. Tolbert. No. No. All right, Ms. Naker. Actually, are there any other questions? I know Ms. Naker had some comments to make, but are there other questions for Ms. Spillman? Mr. Tolbert. Oops, you're muted, Mr. Tolbert.
Second try. Going forward, are we going to have any direction to the artists, or is it whatever people may want to put up? And what is the control to ensure that what is up there, also is reflective of in my opinion, should be the ideals of the community, because as we know, people disappoint us and don't always necessarily perfectly represent those ideals. How have we given direction to that so that we can put something up that represents the best of us?
I don't think I guess I'll just throw this out there that I don't think that has been decided upon. I think that the task force's resolution 3 of 3 was simply to have the council and commission support going forward, again, to maybe even, again, thinking of communities that were not represented within this first project, this first 4 murals, for various reasons, not only the Dakota community, but other communities as well, that certainly are a vibrant part of, and has history and a vibrant part of the current community. I don't think there's a plan yet. It's just simply that there's support of this, and then again, maybe the council and commission would go a totally different way and just solicit maybe from a particular community or something, similar way as this in the courthouse, maybe in other places in the courthouse, maybe in those 4 alcoves covering the Norton murals, or maybe in other government buildings or other public buildings in the cities and throughout the county. But I don't think there's any plan set forth yet on how that will happen.
Okay, I would just suggest that some sort of review committee or something be set up, just so in the future there is a mechanism where if, we have fantastic artists and you would never want to hold back their creativity, but and I don't have any reason to believe either any of the ones that will be up soon are like this. But if a piece is up and another community comes forward and says that it doesn't represent them or has objections to it, some sort of committee that could at least review that to see the to talk about it and have some community, because I suspect. I just think some sort of framework now before it becomes an issue would be helpful.
Noted.
Thank you, Mr. Tolbert. And definitely the work of the community task force helped frame that with the first round of art. And I think something similar and something with some parameters would be very helpful as we move forward with future projects. I'll just be honest and say that my initial suggestion was to just do trees. A spring tree, a summer tree, a fall tree, and a winter tree. It's tall and skinny, kind of looks like a tree. No one can be mad about a tree. No one can be offended or left out of a tree. And I suppose maybe the birch trees could be mad at the elm trees or whatever. But the thought was that it's really difficult to be representative, and no one person can truly represent an entire culture or entire community or entire gender. And so the group chose, nevertheless, to take that messier, more complicated road and to really work on engaging the community. And so therefore we're choosing imperfection, we're choosing these challenges. And the option is just using plain colors or using something benign like trees. And I think that what we're going to see when these murals are unveiled next week is that the artists are reflective of our community, and only some parts of our community by design, but that the art itself is wildly interpreted in different ways, and it is very, it will change the entire feeling of the chamber. So but I do agree, recognizing that anytime you start putting faces and identities on people in murals, you run a risk of future issues are offending or leaving folks out. And that is a real challenge when you move away from the basic and the benign. So I admire the group for making this choice. I think that it makes it much more interesting and something I'm much more excited about, but it is definitely going to be more challenging to navigate that. I will agree. I know there's a few folks who have comments, but I want to make sure that if there's other questions for Ms. Spillman, again, who's filling in, and we really appreciate you doing this for us today. Okay. All right. Thank you, Ms. Spillman. So I know Ms. Naker had some comments, and I think Ms. Prince had some comments. I know I have a few things I'd like to share as well. So Ms. Naker?
Yeah, thank you so much, Council President. Thank you, Molly, for pinch hitting. Really appreciate it. I am just so excited to have gotten to this point. Council President, I think you and I started talking about the artwork on the chamber walls maybe over 4 years ago now. And I know I have emails dating back at least 3.5 years ago as this project has gotten going. And yet, even though I know I felt such a sense of urgency and impatience about it while it was going forward, I don't think it could be happening at a more important time right now when so many people are so rightfully asking those questions about belonging and about inclusion and about how we portray that. And, the courthouse does belong to all of the people of St. Paul, and it is so important that not only does everyone feel represented and reflected there, but that everyone feels comfortable in that space advocating for themselves. As we've talked about so often, that is not a historic room. It is not a artifact. It's not a museum space. It's a place where decisions are made on a regular basis about people's lives, sometimes in a very individual way. And I will never forget the day that a gentleman testifying before us stood up and said, I don't know how I can tell my daughter about this place. Looking around at these walls, I feel so unwelcome here. And we are changing that today and recognizing that art is not just decoration and it's not neutral. It is powerful and it sends a powerful message about belonging. And I'm really excited that the art that we are going to be putting on these walls sends such a much better message about who we are and about our values and about who belongs, knowing that we can never do a good enough job capturing everybody in our community. And I think that's the other thing that we're committing to now is that we know not only can 4 panels never capture everybody, but no amount of panels can ever permanently capture the spirit of a dynamic place like St. Paul or any place. So we're committing not to permanence, but we're committing to regular change. These will not be the future of the chambers forever. They won't sit around for 80 years like the last ones did. We're committing to that process. And I know we still have to work out how that happens exactly, as my colleagues have asked about today. But I think committing to that process of regular change is really important. And I guess I'll just close by saying that I've thought often way back when we used to sit at the table, and I look forward to getting to sit at that table in the chambers again, about how wonderful it is that the faces around the table have changed so much since that artwork went up and so much better reflects the people of St. Paul, but that the faces on the wall have not changed. And that's changing today. And I'm so excited about it.
Wonderful. Thank you for your comments. And Ms. Naker, thank you very much for your leadership on moving this initiative forward. We know, I keep a newspaper article on my desk where former council member and Commissioner Ruby Hunt was complaining about the murals, almost 40 years ago now. And there's been grumblings about it, but the barriers and the battle to moving forward has really been prohibitive. And so it's taken an extra push from people like you and the work that we've done with Ramsey County to get this done at long last. And so I just want to acknowledge that how much of a driver you have been in getting this across the finish line. Ms. Prince.
Thank you. I want to acknowledge Ms. Naker's comments. I am really grateful that according to the discussion yesterday at the county and our discussion today, that the plan is to do everything in our power to make this an ongoing process with ongoing commissions of artists to interpret our city, its history, and aspirations. I do have to speak on behalf of my Dakota constituents because it is the reason they left the process was because the existing murals were going to continue to be shown in the chamber. And I wish there was some way to get back to that and continue that involvement. As someone who has Dakota constituents to thank for so much of what I've learned about our city, I want to provide my view on why the Dakota perspective needs to be in our city-county public chambers. It was Minnesota's first territorial governor, Alexander Ramsey, for whom our county is named, who exiled the Dakota from their land, the stolen land that became St. Paul. Alexander Ramsey ordered that they never be allowed to return to this area. And remarkably, those laws are still on the books in Minnesota. This Dakota land was never ceded by treaty to Minnesota or the United States. So with our vote today, let's all pledge to continue to learn more, to understand the ancient roots of the Dakota people in St. Paul and Ramsey County. The Dakota were here first, and they need to be in our council chamber.
Thank you, Ms. Prince. And thank you for your clarification on the process and how the process changed along the way. And I share your interest and commitment to continuing this process and ensuring that we engage all of our community members and most specifically the Dakota community members. who stepped out of the process early, and I understand at this point would probably be very willing to step back in. I see Ms. Yang and Mr. Tolbert, and I do see Ms. Naker. I do see Ms. Naker. No, I don't. Okay, Ms. Yang.
Thanks, Council President Brembone. So I know we have this resolution on the table. Wasn't really sure where folks were at coming to the table here, but I really enjoyed being able to hear discussions and wanted to share with folks where I'm at as well. One thing I would like to do is I would like to ask the council whether we could actually lay this over for another week. And one of the reasons why is because yesterday I started getting messages from folks in my ward, who were Dakota Tribe members, and started sharing with me about their concerns and stories. And I am curious to how closely the council worked on this. I think that my transition into the council, I know there was already a lot of work being done around this, and I was coming in at a point where maybe things were already starting to get finalized. But I think, for me, if I were to vote in support of this, I would feel very uneasy with it. I would feel a lot of tension because it seems like there were concerns that, these concerns aren't things that have just popped up, recently, but maybe have happened along the process. And I don't know how they were, whether there was any closure or whether it was wrapped up, but it really does seem like there's still a lot of discussions to be had, and I would actually really like the opportunity to have that with the folks who reached out to me. I haven't had those conversations yet because I was just messaged around 9 p.m. and it was already very late to be able to talk to folks directly. And today was a really busy day as well, being a council meeting day. So wanted to reach out to folks and see whether we would be able to have that week to dig some more into this.
Well, Ms. Yang, I hear your concern and especially understand, given your that for the past 4 years or so while we've been working on this, you have not been on the council and may not have, had the opportunity to step in to the conversation along the way. I don't think that this is a new conversation. The community task force has been working with the communities for what did we just say, 18 months on this project. I'm going to encourage us to vote on this today because our vote starts the installation process, and we are planning to unveil the murals with the artists who have worked very hard on these projects next Wednesday. So I think that timing in the situation is very important to continue moving the process forward. At the same time, I don't think it precludes you or the rest of this council from continuing to have conversations with community members who want to be engaged and be part of this process going forward. The thing about the council chambers, and I think Ms. Naker put this beautifully, is it isn't an artifact at this point. It's not a museum. This is going to be a gallery that is living and changing and adapting, and because of the technology and because the installation is going to be so much less of a barrier than we thought it was going to be. I think that there's just going to be many opportunities for people to participate. And so I think that we could do both, pass this and get the move forward with the installation, and at the same time commit to those conversations and make sure that you feel comfortable and up to speed as we move forward with the next phase of this process, which would be to continue to commission new pieces of art with different community members. And that would be my hope, is that we can continue forward and vote today. Ms. Prince.
Ms. Yang, I share your concern about this, and I think that you and I should work together to ensure that the commitments that have been made to keep this process ongoing and to include the Dakota community is something that you and I can spearhead. I would support a layover. I don't know that well, I guess I'll leave it at that. But in any event, I would support a layover, but I also feel that you and I can move this agenda forward with our Dakota constituents and keep this discussion top of mind so that we come up with a resolution sooner than later.
That leadership would be very welcomed. Mr. Tao?
Thank you, Council President. I was just curious. So, 1 week layover. What does that do to the process? Just curious to hear that.
Well, I don't know if Ms. Spillman, can you answer that question? I think I just did. We have installation, imminent installation. Once we pass this, the art will be installed in the council chambers. There are artists who are intending to be at a press conference next week to reveal their art to the public. A 1 week layover would stop the installation.
Correct.
Yeah, I'm more inclined to give the 1 week layover, and I've also received a letter from the Dakota County. I know that we have put a lot of work into this, especially Council President and Councilmember Necker, and rightly so, because what's in there right now doesn't represent our time, and doesn't represent the demographic and the contribution of all the people of St. Paul right now. And so I want to acknowledge that work. And we have climbed, a lot of hurdle just to get to this point. But I also recognize that maybe there's some feelings that are hurt in the Dakota nation. And, being someone who had lost his homeland, his farm, I think one of the least thing we could do is just, give them a week and allow the council member to have a heart-to-heart conversation with them. Unity is what's going to make the city strong. Unity is what's going to bring us together, and it's going to help us shape our arts, our technology, our city as a whole. And so I would be okay with the 1 week layover. And I think that 1 week we should also have a conversation about with those who may have misunderstanding, how do we move forward from here, and that we hear their feelings, we understand, and we're trying to understand, but how do we also move forward from here? And we can also heal, but we could also create progress and create the kind of arts that represent us.
I mean, if the will is there to do a 1 week layover and that creates peace, I guess that's fine. I think that this is not a new issue. Maybe it came up last night at 9 o'clock for some of us, but it is a conversation that could have and should have taken place earlier. But if 1 week provides an opportunity for folks to have that, I can see some support there. I am concerned about what we have lined up to go forward with Ramsey County in terms of installation and in terms of the artists who have worked on these projects and what stalling this does to that process and to those artists. And I don't know, Molly, if you can talk about that a little bit.
Sure. Well, again, very cognizant and wanting to be respectful of our Dakota friends and neighbors and constituents here, and wanting to hear them and feel and have them feel like they're being heard and have a voice, in the sense that maybe they felt like they lost that voice yet again in this process, and saying that the original murals would still hang. in their, in that room, and they will be, but not anytime soon. I guess maybe that, I don't know if that would make any difference in this, in that it is a change from the original plan of the task force that was communicated, again, over a year ago now, to the Dakota members of that, early Dakota members of that task force, that all of the murals, the original Norton offensive murals, will not be visible in that chambers room in the foreseeable future. While they're still there underneath the new artwork that has been created, they are not going to be visible. So again, I don't know if that would be a compromise to cancel plans that have been made. Certainly anything can be canceled, but again, we do have artists traveling from outstate to participate in the unveiling of their artwork, and that's been underway for some time. However, this event is tied to your vote and to the commissioner's vote. So that's what will be the result. Things will have to, again, get postponed, and I would say likely it will be longer than a week to reinvent all of this process. And again, it can certainly be done, but it will not be just, a week from next week. It'll take some time to reschedule all of the components that go into making the installation and the unveiling happen.
Ms. Naker.
Thank you. I appreciate this conversation so much, and I recognize that I'm speaking as someone who, as I said, has felt a sense of urgency about this for the last 4 years. So from that perspective, what does one more week matter? On the other hand, I guess I would really ask my colleagues on this one. I would love to be able to vote today. I understand if some folks feel that they can't, but we did commit to this process. We passed a resolution that laid out what this process would be. I do believe that Ramsey County Historical Commission followed that process and that it had integrity. I understand that there was disagreement along the way, but I don't think that disagreement invalidated the process that was followed and the inclusion that was done. There are many, many groups that are not included in these panels. I'm a member of a group that is not included in these panels. And again, this is not meant to be the end all be all of this process. I am seeing today's vote not as a vote against anybody who's not included, but as a vote for the artwork that has been done. And if you have seen that artwork, it is truly, it's awe-inspiring. And I understand laying over if something would change in the next week, but I also am cautious about the cynicism that comes out when community is told, well, we're laying it over to talk to you, to get your input, but then we're just going to go ahead and vote for it a week later. I don't actually know if that is a better, more fair process. So I put that out there. I don't want this to fail as a result of pushing for too much too quickly, but I really would ask if people can get to the place where they can vote for what's in front of us and not against what's not.
Thank you, Ms. Naker. Ms. Jalali.
Thanks. I am also trying to understand the impact of a layover because I generally am always fine with giving more time. I think it's really important to center impacted voices and to acknowledge Dakota land and Dakota experiences. And so I do want to be sensitive to this. And I'm also, because I haven't been as involved with this task force or this process, making sure we consider the information about just the full range of folks that have been a part of this and what's in motion. So my question for staff, kind of following on the point of what's the functional impact of a layover logistically, would be if there are artists traveling here, are they financially impacted by a 1 week layover and otherwise logistically impacted? I mean, it's my general understanding we're trying to employ folks who want to share their talents and their arts to improve a public space, and that there's a whole series of things underway to do that. And would this actually significantly impact them too, given that there's a lot of pieces that have been long running in this? That would help me better grasp what the impact could be.
Ms. Spillman?
I can't say with any certainty, what financial or other impact would be had by delaying an unveiling past the sort of planned date next week. I don't know. I know they're coming with the intent of this event happening. We would just have to, alert them and have them, reschedule, and if hopefully they can attend the rescheduled date.
Does that answer your question, Ms. Jalali?
Yeah, it does. I guess. Yeah, that's all. Thanks.
Mr. Tolbert?
I'll just add on to what Councilmember Naker said. First of all, I think the overriding goal here for all 7 of us is to finally not have the current art showing. That is the most important part of what we're doing today and what we have been working on for a couple of years, and many of us have wanted to do, and we're very close to finally getting done after years of pushing forward and being denied about it. We are on that cusp. I would say the same thing. I didn't fully appreciate this until it was articulated by Councilmember Brenmoen and Councilmember Naker, but that this is a changing art gallery. I think that's a good way to look at it. And actually, I think that is fantastic, is not only will it change up the art and show people who visit our chambers different aspects of the community that they may not know about, but it also gives the opportunity for many different views and voices and visions to be displayed on our council chambers, which pretty much sums up the citizens of St. Paul, because we are very diverse in both our backgrounds as well as our viewpoints and everything like that. So I think that's fantastic. I am concerned, as people articulated, with making sure that particularly the Dakota, but all people have an opportunity to be a part of this conversation, be a part of this group. I do also think, what the difference a week would make in terms of this conversation and in terms of actually displaying it, and if that would change. If we have 4 artists' pieces ready to go up, which it sounds like we do, I don't know what delaying it a week would do, because we'd have to tell one of those artists that their piece of art is no longer going to be up, and we're going to pause and wait for another artist to participate. And I haven't been a part of this conversation for 2 years, so I don't know how the artists were chosen and everything, but someone spent a lot of time getting ready for that vision, or getting that piece ready and that artistic piece ready. And I don't know how the group would even begin to say which piece is not going to go up this time that's already prepared and ready to go up. That would be my only concern, and I think Councilmember Naker articulated very well of, yes, we could lay it over for a week, but would the outcome be any different? And like I said, I'm not part of the group, and maybe they're, like all committees, there probably were things that we wish we could do differently in retrospect. But I think the most important thing is we are getting rid of the current murals, which are derogatory and wrong, and that to me is the most important thing that we do here today. So I don't think I've given an answer of where I stand, but those are just the kind of the general concerns of if we vote today versus if we vote next week, that it wouldn't change. The outcome wouldn't necessarily change. So,
right, and I appreciate the point. I think that combining what Ms. Naker said and what you said, Mr. Tolbert, that either there's no change and it's just an opportunity for a conversation, and then we move forward with what we plan to do, or there's a big change. And someone ends up on the losing end of the art deal, as opposed to moving forward with new art in the months and years ahead of us. I see Ms. Spillman has her hand up, and so I want to make sure we call on her. And then it looks like Ms. Prince has her hand up again.
I guess I just wanted to follow up on Councilmember Tolbert's comment that, again, not only if there would be a change from original task force and resolutions that have already been passed to create these 4 pieces, that it wouldn't necessarily be just a week's time. If there would be some change, obviously a new art piece has to be created because of the specificity of the space. There's not going to be art that has been created that would fit necessarily because of the intent of blowing it up. And so I would just add that timing on again as an outcome of changing at this point. Again, can certainly be done, but we would be talking about a very long delay in allowing a new, not only in demoting one of the chosen artists, but in allowing a new chosen artist, once chosen, to create a new work that would fit physically into the space. So that was the only other additional timing piece I wanted to add. Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Billman. Ms. Prince.
I think you have your mute on. Not working. No vocal.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I want to point out to remind this council how much leadership we showed when we decided to undertake this process. And I really appreciate how hard everyone has worked and how sincere that commitment has been. So I am not faulting anybody for their efforts. But, you know, this kind of work, I've just gone through this with the Mounds Park Master Plan and making some really big changes in what the community was expecting. And we have been working really closely on a cultural landscape study with the Dakota community that for anybody who has participated in it, it has been truly one of the most meaningful experiences of my career, and I believe my neighbors feel very much the same way. This kind of work is really hard. It doesn't go smoothly. It's really inconvenient, and trying to keep it within firm deadlines is not. It's not always going to be achievable. And I think that, you know, this has been on our agenda for a week. I'm not sure when the community found out about it or that the decision was going to be coming to us and that we were actually going to be approving something. I know when I saw accepting, I thought that's good. But then when I saw approving, I thought, well, that takes it to a whole other level of trying to understand what has occurred here. And one thing that I believe is correct, I have heard that the committee originally had about 20 members, and that once the decision was made in that process, or once members became aware that we were going to continue to display one or two of the existing murals at all times, that the American Indian members of that committee dropped from that process. That is an issue I think that taking a week to understand and talk about is a reasonable thing to do. Whether or not we can get some understanding about how we move forward together, I think it's reasonable to think that reasonable people can get together and talk about this over the next few days and arrive at a plan that doesn't necessarily kill the whole deal. I know that I've heard from Dakota
constituents of mine that they feel that the artists that have been chosen are talented and very worthy. So there isn't that issue. I think that in the interest of a whole bunch of people of good faith wanting to do good through this process, that it would be wise to take this extra week and have a conversation. And I hope that doesn't curtail the project going forward. But I just think that we're at a point in our history where we need to listen to those voices. And I think it would be a good idea if we did that this week.
Thank you, Ms. Prince. And I'm looking, I see lots of folks with their hands up, and I just want to acknowledge that we've heard from everybody, and we've heard from some people several times, and there's interest in calling the question on, there is a motion from Ms. Yang to lay the matter over for 1 week. And so, I mean, this project is really something that it's sad that this is the conversation that we're ending up having today. This should be, it's just sad. So, and for not wrong, but just that unfortunately, rather than celebrating moving forward, we're running into these things. And yep, the work is hard. As I mentioned earlier, we chose it was hard, but there has been a request to call the question on the layover request by Ms. Yang for 1 week. And I think we've heard from people their reasoning for and against that. So Ms. Yang moves the 1 week layover. And we will have a roll call on whether or not you would like to have a 1 week layover. Yes, if you do. No, if you don't. Roll call.
Naker?
No.
Prince?
We might need to go back to Ms. Prince. She's having some trouble with her.
Sure. Tao?
Aye.
Tolbert?
No.
Yang?
Aye.
Jalali?
No.
Council President Brenmoen?
No.
Councilmember Prince, are you back?
I am. I'm sorry about the sound. So we're voting on the layover?
Yep.
That's correct.
Yes.
3 in favor, 4 opposed, being Councilmembers Naker, Tolbert, Jalali, and Council President Brenmoen. The motion fails.
All right, so the resolution is in front of us to accept the recommendations from the task force, and I do want to share that I was able to participate in the Ramsey County Commissioners meeting yesterday, and very similar conversation and very similar commitment from all of the commissioners to continue to be fully engaged in this process and to the same outreach to each of those commissioners. And so I just want to underscore and reiterate that there is a verbal commitment and a resolution that supports the ongoing conversation and engagement of the Dakota community and all of our communities as we continue to really curate our new gallery. So there's a lot of support for that. And again, it's very similar conversation at Ramsey County. Are there comments on the resolution, moving the resolution to accept the recommendations of the task force and move forward towards the installment and press release next week? I see Ms. Jalali's hand up. And
yeah, thank you. Well, I had hoped to speak before the previous vote, so I'll kind of combine remarks. But I think that we're in a moment in this process where we're on the brink of installation. And I think if we were earlier in the process and there were other opportunities to bring up some of the conversations in a way where it was actionable, that is different to me from an engagement standpoint and from trust and relationship building than where it sounds like it is, which is way further along. And I guess I would like to share for transparency that I'm taking a learning point away from that. I also haven't, like I said, I haven't been as closely involved with this as others have. So this is a good check for me to just take heed of all that. And I want to thank you, Councilmember Yang, for lifting up voices of folks who want to make sure that that stays in the center. I think that's instructive to all of us. So I do feel like since I joined the council, this has been a topic since 2 years ago. And I have a picture that somebody took where I'm sitting in the council chambers, and there's literally 2 gigantic white men just like looming over me. And I'm sitting between them, and I am just, at that time, I was the only woman of color on the council. I think I was the second woman of color in council history. And that was in like 160 plus years of city council representation. And then you could just like visually see colonizers standing there. And so this has been emotional because it rightfully is. It's about having a better account of our history and trying to make efforts, even if imperfectly or with disagreement along the way, to just start to change that. There are so many places around our community we need to do better storytelling that is led by impacted communities about who St. Paul is, the fullness of our community and the history. I think this is one of those places, but it is far from the only. And so I guess I wanted to just connect what I didn't get to say before we voted on the layover, and what I'm thinking about with this vote is that I would really like to be able to support the artists that have worked tremendously hard and value their labor, their cultural labor and their engagement, and to be able to take the next step in this long-running process that's been here since longer than I have. So I'll vote in support, but wanted to get to share that, and I didn't get to share all of it before the layover vote. So sorry for combining, kind of put 2 movies in one there. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Jalali. And I would like to share also that at the Ramsey County meeting, and I forgot to mention this earlier, that right now we're talking about our the murals in our council chambers, but there's plenty of other opportunities to do better with our art in City Hall and Ramsey County Courthouse as well. And so I think we need to look at all those opportunities. I see Ms. Yang. Ms. Billman, do you have your hand up, or is that a leftover? Okay, Ms. Yang.
Thank you. Let's see, there's definitely a few things I want to say. The first one is, Councilmember Prince, I would love to partner with you on engaging more with our Dakota tribe members about this, and look forward to doing that with you. And I think, even though I wasn't there to see a lot of this, come into the planning process for this, I think what I'm feeling is, feeling deeply disappointed that the conversation, if it's true that it has, that it has been brought up several times, that we continue to be in a place where we're very stuck. And probably a root cause of that is possibly the unwillingness of people who have a voting power to actually take down murals to do that, and to actually commit to removing images of racism, white supremacy that we visibly see in our own city hall. And that really clashes with the type of value and integrity that we have to our community and to the type of future we're building. And I'm seeing that more and more. And I think that that is probably a conversation to be had. And, I would definitely, push on that myself. Because it continues to come up, even in the conversations that were brought up to me last night. So I think there's, a lot of learning lessons to be taken away. And it sounds like there has been a lot that has been put into this project already. So seeing that the layover did not happen, I will be voting in support of the resolution, but I think that there is a lot of work to be done.
Thank you so much, Ms. Yang. Mr. Tao,
Thank you,
Mr. Tao.
President. Just a clarifying question. So with all the different committee members, you may have mentioned this, or the staff may have mentioned this earlier, was there other nation that was at the table? And can you just quickly identify who they were?
Ms. Billman?
There is another American Indian participant. One of the 4 artists, his name is Leah Yellowbird, and she resides in Grand Rapids, Grand Rapids, Minnesota, and is a member of the Ojibwe tribe, a Anishinaabe tribe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think what's the tension I have in my heart, it's just that I feel like we've taken so much from the Native American nations, and I understand the work that we're trying to do, the diversity, the inclusion that we're trying to do. At the same time, I feel that we shouldn't stall the process. We shouldn't start the process all over again. But at the same time, I feel like a nation or a group of people that, if we look at the demographic, the statistic, they almost have no representation, and they experience a lot of disparity. And then here, we're probably the only voice that they have left to say, okay, we will we'll hear you out, and I just feel like we're me, not you all, but me, I'm speaking for myself, that a vote for support of this is going against everything that I'm trying to fight for folks who don't have a voice. And just the timing of their letters and what they're trying to do. So I'm just speaking in terms of the conflict that I'm having in my heart. I don't know what I'm going to vote or if I'm going to abstain, but that's what I'm struggling with right now.
And I was trying to quick pull up the link to answer the question. I think there was 2 there, Mr. Tao. One was who's on the task force, and the other is who's the artist. And I believe that the artists themselves represent several Indigenous nations, but I don't know about the makeup of the task force off the top of my head. Ms. Prince, then Mr. Tolbert. And right now what is in front of us is a motion on this resolution.
Right. I had fully intended to vote for this today, raising the concerns of of the Dakota constituents in my ward, and I think, like Councilmember Tao, I have found this discussion to be discouraging and disappointing, and so I'm not sure how I'm going to vote. Ms. Naker's comments about, it was one of my constituents, Barry Frantum, who, when we were passing a resolution in support of the Standing Rock community, with regard to the pipeline, it was Barry who looked across at the mural and said, as Ms. Naker said, how can I bring my children in here to see my people depicted like that? That was how I got involved in this issue. So I really don't know how I'll vote, because I do feel that, we've discussed it and we've decided not to lay it over. But what I think has emerged here is maybe the kernel of the problem that we have in our white society. So I'm not sure how I'm going to vote. But thanks to everybody for their hard work. I know it's really been a thoughtful process, and thanks for that.
Any other discussion on this topic or on the motion of the resolution? All right, I see none. No further discussion on this item. So Ms. Prince, Ms. Naker's motion, roll call.
Naker?
Aye.
Prince?
No.
Tao,
Abstain.
Tolbert,
Yes.
Yang,
Aye.
Jalali,
Aye.
Council President Brenmoen.
Aye.
5 in favor, 1 opposed, being Councilmember Prince, and 1 abstention, Councilmember Tao. The resolution is adopted.
Thank you. And we, as I mentioned a bit earlier, there is, we will be getting invitation to the press event next Wednesday at 9 o'clock in the morning, and there will be distanced individual tours and walkthroughs for press and interested parties to look at the new murals in the chambers. And so keep an eye out for that. And again, welcoming the offers of leadership from Ms. Prince and Ms. Yang on how we move forward in a way that's purposeful and meaningful and aligns with our values. So thank you so much for that.
Item number 13, first reading of ordinance 20-11, amending the appendix to chapter 409 of the legislative code pursuant to section 17.07.1 of the charter and section 409.20 of the legislative code to create an additional commercial development district at 974 7th Street West. This ordinance is laid over to August 19th for second reading. Item 14, first reading of ordinance 20-25, amending the appendix to chapter 409 of the legislative code pursuant to section 17.07.1 of the charter and section 409.20 of the legislative code to expand the commercial development district at 1 Leach Street to include 200 Grant Avenue. This ordinance is laid over to August 19th for second reading. Item number 15, first reading of ordinance 20-26, granting the application of Hua Bang and Yia Tao to rezone property at 1428 East 7th Street from split RM1, RM2 to all RM2 medium density multiple family residential and amending chapter 60 of the legislative code pertaining to the zoning map. This ordinance is laid over to August 19th for second reading. Item number 16, ordinance 20-27, granting the application of Chet Funk et al. To rezone property at 1074 to 1096 James Avenue from R4 one family residential to RM2 medium density multiple family residential and amending chapter 60 of the legislative code pertaining to the zoning map. This ordinance is laid over to August 19th for second reading. Item 17, resolution public hearing 20-163, amending the financing and spending plans in the fire department in the amount of $4,711.70 for the Minnesota Task Force 1 team reimbursement from the city of Edina.
And this is a public hearing, correct, Ms. Moore?
Yes. Yes.
All right. So this is a public hearing. There's been opportunities for the public to participate in online or phone transcription. So Mr. Tolbert would move to take that money from Edina, close the public hearing, and approve. Roll call.
This is something we can all celebrate. After all the tense conversation.
Naker.
Aye.
Prince. I think I heard aye there.
Aye.
Tao.
Aye.
Tolbert.
Yes. Yes.
Yang.
Aye.
Jalali.
Aye.
Council President Brenmoen.
Aye.
7 in favor, no one opposed. The public hearing is closed and the resolution is adopted. Item 18, resolution public hearing 20-156, amending the 2020 special fund budget and amending and adding activity for the BJA fiscal year 20 coronavirus emergency supplemental funding grant from the Department of Justice in the amount of $742,994 received by the City of St. Paul to offset expenses due to the COVID-19 crisis.
All right. And again, this is a public hearing and the public has had an opportunity to weigh in by phone or by email. Are there thoughts from colleagues before we move to accept the money? All right. Seeing none, Ms. Prince moves to close the public hearing and approve. Roll call.
Baker.
Aye.
Prince.
Aye.
Tao.
Aye.
Tolbert.
Yes.
Yang.
Aye.
Jalali.
Aye.
Council President Brandmon.
Aye.
7 in favor, no one opposed. The public hearing is closed and the resolution is adopted. Item 19, Resolution Public Hearing 20-158, amending the 2018 Port Grant from the Federal Emergency Management Agency to add budget and activity budget for this grant.
All right, this is a public hearing. Folks have had an opportunity to weigh in online or by phone. There's no discussion on this item. Ms. Jalali moves to close the public hearing and approve. Roll call.
Naker.
Aye.
Prince.
Aye.
Tao.
Aye.
Tolbert.
Yes.
Yang.
Aye.
Jalali.
Aye.
Council President Brandmon.
Aye.
7 in favor, no one opposed. The public hearing is closed and the resolution is adopted. Item 20, Resolution Public Hearing 20-160, approving adverse action against the auto body repair garage and secondhand dealer license application held by A&M Auto Sales, Inc., doing business as A&M Auto Sales at 845 Robert Street.
All right, Ms. Naker.
Thank you. I'd like to ask my colleagues for a opportunity to keep the public hearing open for one more week and bring this back for discussion next week. We need to get a little bit more information on this item.
All right, so there's a motion to keep open the public hearing and lay the matter over for 1 week. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, roll call.
Naker.
Aye.
Prince.
Aye.
Tao.
Aye.
Tolbert.
Yes.
Yang.
Aye.
Jalali.
Aye.
Council President Brandmon.
Aye.
7 in favor, no one opposed. The public hearing is continued to August 19th. For the following cases, no objections to the legislative hearing officer's recommendations were received, and therefore she recommends adoption of the following items. Item 21, RLH FCO 20-69 750 Bayfield Street. Item 22, RLH BO 20-31 1157 Dayton Avenue and 1159 Dayton Avenue. Item 23, RLH SAO 20-11 1088 5th Street East. Item 20, RLH FCO 20-60 2012 Ford Parkway. Item 25, RLH BBR 20-48 1093 4th Street East. Item 26, RLH BBR 20-49 589 Gotzian Street. Item 28, RLH TA 20-522 1122 Jackson Street. Item 29, RLH TA 20-523 1122 Jackson Street. Item 32, RLH BBR 20-51 2081 London Street, or Lane, sorry. Item 34, RLH SAO 20-13 1374 McLean Avenue. Item 35, RLH FCO 20-97 926 Payne Avenue. Item 36, RLH FCO 20-59 968 Payne Avenue. Item 37, RLH BBR 20-46 765 Rainey Avenue. Item 40, RLH VBR 20-47 740 Tatum Street. And the last one, item 41, RLH CO 20-10 1610 Upper Avenue Road. And the motion would be to adopt.
And Ms. Prince makes that motion. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Naker.
Aye.
Prince.
Aye.
Tao.
Aye.
Tolbert.
Yes.
Yang.
Aye.
Jalali.
Aye.
Council President Brandmon.
Aye.
7 in favor, no one opposed. The public hearings are closed and the resolutions are adopted. For the following cases, no objections to the legislative hearing officer's amended recommendations were received. Therefore, she recommends amendment and adoption of the following items. Item 27, RLH TA 20-387, 37 Hatch Avenue. Item 30, RLH TA 20-46, 876 Lawson Avenue East. Item 31, RLH TA 20-65, 876 Lawson Avenue East. And item 39, RLH TA 20-182, 1504 Summit Avenue. And again, the motion is to amend and adopt.
All right, so moved by Mr. Tao. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, roll call.
Naker,
Aye.
Prince,
Aye.
Tao,
Aye.
Tolbert,
Yes.
Yang,
Aye.
Jalali,
Aye.
Council President Brenmoen.
Aye.
7 in favor, no one opposed. The public hearings are closed and the resolutions are adopted as amended. Now, the next two following cases you'll be taking separately, and there will be a staff report from Ms. Mormond. Item 33, RLH RR 19-29, 864 Marion Street.
Welcome, Ms. Mormond.
Good afternoon, council members. For this item, I would note that as of 3:30 today, we received a phone call from the owner indicating that he would like to testify to the council. So I will be asking for a 1-week layover. I would like to note for the record at the same time that I first heard this case fully 9 months ago, and I've conducted 9 legislative hearings. The last time it was in front of you was February 26th of this year, and I've been handling it in hearing since that time, which would really be the same time period as the COVID crisis. Despite calls and letters from my office, we haven't heard from the owner since June 23rd, although we've conducted multiple hearings since that time. His owner or his attorney indicated that he was no longer working with him, and we've been trying to reach out to the attorney. Because this has been in the vacant building program for 10 years and we don't have plans to rehabilitate the property or evidence of financing, I wouldn't recommend that you grant more than a week layover. So, but I am asking for a continuation of the public hearing for 1 week that he may be able to testify live to you.
All right, so Mr. Tao, would you accept the motion to hold open the public hearing and lay the matter over for 1 week?
I do, but I have a quick question.
Mr. Tao.
Thank you, Council President. Ms. Mormon, does a property owner, does he own other properties in the city of St. Paul?
Yes, he does own other properties in the city of St. Paul, and he has appeared before the city council in the past on similar types of issues.
Okay. And this, I'm assuming that this used to be a rental property?
Yes, this has been an investment property owned by him. In fact, he has been in the process of purchasing on a contract for deed for many, many years, and that was only finally concluded in this hearing process. So it's a duplex. It has been a non-owner occupied duplex pretty much the entire time.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Mormon.
All right, so Mr. Tao, so moved by Mr. Tao. Any other discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Naker?
Aye.
Prince?
Aye.
Tao?
Aye.
Tolbert?
Yes.
Yang?
Aye.
Jalali?
Aye.
Council President Brenmoen.
Aye.
7 in favor, no one opposed. The public hearing is continued to August 19th. And item 38, RLH RR 19-23, 1179 7th Street East.
Ms. Mormond.
This is a very large and complicated case, more so than the previous item. I will tell you that I first heard the case in mid-August of last year, so it is my 1-year anniversary of working on this case. It was first in front of you about a month later on September 11th. During this time period, it's been in front of the council 3 times and in legislative hearing 11 times. The fee owner and contract for deed holder were formally requested in a July 31st, 2020 letter from my office to let us know if they wish to provide live testimony today and that we would arrange for it. We have not heard from them about wanting to do this. The other ways that people can provide testimony to you is through an email, letter, voicemail, which would be attached to your record. No additional communication has been added to the file. Because they have not indicated they wish to testify, although I would note that there is a hefty record of participation in the legislative hearing process. But because they have not indicated they wish to testify at this time, I'll withhold any further staff report unless there are questions. And again, my recommendation is to order the building removed within 15 days. This is based on a lack of a plan for executing a rehabilitation. Any financing to do so, financing estimates that have been provided by the owner have run between $500,000 and $1.4 million. And its ongoing status as a nuisance property in the neighborhood. As recently as yesterday morning, the building was broken into and required boarding. So this has been a difficult property for the neighborhood to be able to work with.
Thank you, Ms. Mormon. Are there questions for Ms. Mormon? Okay. Just to reiterate, the motion or what your recommendation was to order the removal in 15 days.
Yes, that would be amending the resolution to order the building removed within 15 days.
Okay. And Ms. Yang? Ms. Yang?
Thank you. I just wanted to say thank you to Marsha because she has given so much support, to the folks on this property and really, great explanations on ways that we can move forward. And, I do support the recommendation and hope that my colleagues can support this too. I really look forward to, finding ways that we could really revitalize this property and this entire block as a whole because our community needs it. I think that this is a pathway forward.
Thank you, Ms. Yang. I would support your motion as well. Is there other discussion on this motion? All right, seeing none, roll call.
Naker?
Aye.
Prince?
Aye.
Tao?
Aye.
Tolbert?
Yes.
Yang?
Aye.
Jalali?
Aye.
Council President Brenmoen?
Aye.
7 in favor, no one opposed. The public hearing is closed and the resolution is adopted as amended. And that is it.
All right, so that brings us to the end of our agenda. Before we adjourn, do folks have news or things to share from their wards? Ms. Yang?
Ms. Yang?
No, we're still getting in the swing of the hand thing. I know. Ms. Prince?
Yes, next Thursday, August 20th, between 3 and 6 p.m., there will be a labor union job and resource fair at the St. Paul Electrical Union Hall at 1330 Conway Street. And it'll be hosted by the Eastside Freedom Library and the St. Paul Regional Labor Federation. This is the 5th annual Union Job and Resource Fair. And with a new lineup of employers and resources offering jobs, training opportunities, and helpful information. It's conveniently located on the 63K bus route, which stops at 3rd Street and Clarence Street, right near the Union Hall. So I encourage all of us to get the word out about that during this period of time when people are looking for jobs and new opportunities that pay well.
Great. Ms. Jalali?
Thanks. Just have a couple of general ongoing volunteer opportunities and also a resource that folks should know about. So there's two. First is that the Midway Food and Empowerment Project, which is a group of community organizers working with Hamlin Midway Coalition, have been doing ongoing food supply distribution, and they're currently receiving donations of food that they then redistribute to families in need at Ginkgo Coffee House, which is 721 Snelling Avenue, during the coffee house's business hours. So thank you, Ginkgo, for being a staging location for this important operation, and to the Neighborhood District Council and community partners. It's the Midway Food and Empowerment Project. And then additionally, St. Paul YMCAs are accepting ongoing donations of basic necessities, including non-perishable foods, feminine hygiene products, and toiletries, other needs that people have. And so the St. Paul Midway YMCA is included in that. And so I wanted to make sure people knew of these two places in the Midway where you could either get something if you need it or drop supplies off if you have them. So thank you to all the partners involved with that. And there's just a lot of need in our community right now. So want to make sure people know about those too. Thanks.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that. Are there other sharings? Mr. Tao?
Thank you, Council President. Saturday, August 15th, 2 to 4 p.m. at the West Minnehaha Recreation Center, 685 West Minnehaha. You are cordially invited to the Monarch City. The project is to cultivate, plant pollinator-friendly plants and Frogtown. And so there's a special invitation. If you join on the Saturday, the 15th, anytime between 2 to 4 p.m., they have all kinds of people there to answer your questions, and they'll dig up a pollinator plant for you to take home and you can plant in your own garden. So, just a little bit of here, a self-guided COVID-safe tour will be open to the public starting Sunday the 16th. So hopefully we'll see you all there on your bikes and your mask.
Right. Good reminder on the masks. Other news to share? Ms. Jalali, is your hand just still up?
We're going to figure this out. We have a lot of meetings. We're going to stop raising our hands, and I'm going to extend that to myself. Sorry.
Just checking. I will just share, this is Ward 1. Sorry, Mr. Tao, but I know this is an area that we're both very focused on and working collaboratively at the Rice and Winnipeg intersection on the north end. And I just wanted to share that the Twin Cities Guns Down, Love Up is doing a street takeover. The block takeover, actually, they're taking over spaces where gun violence lives. And from 6 to 9 o'clock, they're inviting folks to join for fun, for food, for family, for festivities, and for joy and for love, and to take a break from the violence and try another path. They're doing a screening of Beyonce's Black is King at the end of that event. So if you haven't seen that yet, it's a good opportunity to do that. I invite people to join Guns Down, Love Up from 6 to 9 at Rice and Winnipeg Friday night. Ms. Yang.
Thank you. Just a quick thing here. I wanted everyone to know about free COVID-19 testing that's available. There's 2 new sites in Ramsey County. There's one happening this Saturday, the 15th, and that's at the Aldrich Arena in Maplewood, and that's from 2 to 6 p.m. There's also another one happening this Sunday, the 16th, at Washington Tech Magnet School from 2 to 6 p.m. And if you go on the Ramsey County website to get information about COVID-19 info, this is all on there, and registration is recommended but not required. And it's free, no insurance needed. It's open to everyone, symptoms or no symptoms. There's a drive-through or walk-up, no ID needed, and we have interpreters available on site as well. And in addition to those 2 dates that I mentioned, there are going to be even more open up these next few weeks on the weekend as well. So I'm going to forward this to all the council offices in hopes that you all would be able to share this on social media. When we shared it, it reached over 10,000 people. So I think it has a really big impact, and I would really love for this info to get out more.
Thank you so much for that information. It's very important. We know Washington Tech is in the north end, and we've heard from the Kern community that COVID is rampant right now, and I'm really grateful that the testing site is in that location as well. It's very convenient for folks at a familiar place. So thank you for sharing that news. Is there other updates from the wards? All right. Seeing none, we are adjourned. Thank you, folks.